Now, this whole time I'm not touching the mouse or doing anything on the laptop. Claude is actually opening up each of these different Upwork jobs and then applying for me. Cool, so it just wrote the cover letter for me. And this whole time I haven't really written anything or even touched my mouse. Cool, so now it has answered a follow-up question, and then it's going to answer one more question on how do you approach difficult conversations with customers. Nice. Okay, so I want to talk about a game-changing feature today from Claude, which is called computer use. It's a way for Claude to actually go into your browser and interact with websites and web pages similarly to how you would as a human. Now, why you should care about this is if you're using agents to automate some of the mind-numbing kind of menial tasks, the challenges is those agents have a lot of difficulty accessing systems that don't have a well-documented API or a really good CLI. And so those agents can't programmatically interact with certain systems, then they struggle. And so what Claude Computer Use allows those agents to do is if they want to go into LinkedIn or Upwork where there isn't a good API, they can actually go through the browser and interact with those websites similarly to how we would as humans. So I think this is just opening up the kind of usefulness of some of the tools and agents that we have access to by having them actually go into the browsers themselves and interact with all these websites and tools the same way we would. Now, before we go into the video, a quick introduction to me. My name is Sanjay. I've been an enterprise sales rep for about 8+ years now. On the side, outside of my full-time role, I also consult with startups on how to really define their go-to-market strategy, generate more qualified pipeline, and ultimately close more deals. On this channel, I'm just posting a lot of content that I found super interesting from my experience selling software to some of the biggest brands in the world, as well as how AI is really impacting sales and marketing, and just really how you take new products to market. So I'm going to be posting a lot of videos just around like the fundamentals of sales, how to close business faster, and then also, with AI, how can you get more with a smaller team and just be much more productive using these AI tools that we all have. Now, the first real-world application that I recommend people use computer use for is to apply to jobs or to freelance positions and submit proposals on Upwork. So this is what I've been doing. I actually save a list of jobs that I want to apply for. Basically have it in this like saved jobs list. And then I take the URL of my saved jobs and put it into Claude Cowork and say, and here's the prompt if you guys want to take it. I also wrote a cover letter examples. So these are cover letters that I've written for other jobs, just so Claude has context on my background and my experience. And then I'm saying like leverage the cover letter examples to answer the questions and fill in the cover letter. Ping me once all the job fields are complete. Do not submit the jobs for me. I've felt like saying, ask clarifying questions if you get stuck or aren't sure what to deliver has yielded better results for me. So I always have this in my prompt. And then let me just hit go. Okay, so once I submitted the prompt, it's going to open up a tab group, and then it's going to ask for permission to actually basically pull up the Upwork URL. So I'm going to hit allow. And now if we go into Google Chrome, we can see that Claude has opened up its own tab group. And then if we click in here, we can see this kind of orange hue. This means that Claude is working on this particular tab. Now it just opened up 2 saved jobs in 2 separate tabs, which is exactly what I told it to do. So it can apply to basically a giant list of jobs that I give it. Oh, nice. It's actually asking a few clarifying questions. So it says this has a budget of this, and the leadership consulting has historically paid around this. Your rate is significantly higher. Do you want to apply? Yes, put my rate at $50 per hour. Answer based on your best judgment. Now, I'm not touching my mouse or anything. You can actually see Claude scrolling through this job posting, taking screenshots to understand what the job poster is asking about. And then it's going to click apply now. And then now it's actually going to submit a proposal for me. Now Claude is changing my hourly rate. It just went from 100 to 50. Now at any point, if you do want to take over the mouse, you can. So you can actually just move, and if you need to do any fine tuning, but now Claude is writing my cover letter. Cool, now it's answering the other questions in the proposal that the job poster is asking for. Okay, so now Claude completed this entire proposal for the first job. Now I moved on to job 2, hit apply now. Okay, now it's changing my hourly rate. So just changed my hourly rate from 100 to a 50 based on what new information I shared with it. And now it's writing my cover letter. Okay, so now it just wrote my cover letter. So let's actually review what just happened, right? Because Claude just applied to 2 Upwork positions. It went through this entire process. It asked for some clarification on both the jobs. So it asked like, hey, the budget is asking for more screening questions. And I just said like, hey, put my rate at $50 an hour and then answer based on your best judgment. And it went through the entire flow. And ultimately, without me doing anything or even touching my mouse, it created the entire proposals for both job 1 and job 2. It gave me the reasoning behind each of the cover letters and the answers for the questions. And it basically told me like, hey, this is ready to go. Just let me know when you're ready to submit proposal. I can have it hit the submit proposal button, but I like to do a last mile like Q&A before doing that. So you can actually see here, it went through, it submitted. Usually my hourly rate is $100 an hour, but it changed it to 50. It did a cover letter, experience, and how do I approach difficult conversations. One thing it did miss is actually this part where it didn't talk about my rate increase. Typically I say never. And then, it did notice actually, where is it? I saw it in the chat. It says I can send for 17 connects. I will not click. Oh, here it is. It says boost your proposal is optional. No additional fields required. So it didn't do any of this here. And then similarly, it also missed the want to increase rate, but it wrote a cover letter. So I'll review these cover letters beforehand, before submitting. But this does about 80% of the work without me ever having to touch this. Now, the second major real-world use case for me is to use computer use to connect with people and prospects on LinkedIn. So here I've got a sales search with some sales leaders in Austin, Texas. Here is the prompt in Claude Cowork. Use computer use, connect with these people on LinkedIn. I'm going to limit this to the first 3 just because I don't want this to run forever. But you can, have it just go through the entire list. And then I typically don't use connection messages, so I'm going to say don't use a connection message. Now, one issue I've actually had with LinkedIn, like LinkedIn has historically been very difficult to scrape, very difficult to automate. So I think this is kind of a short-term hack. I'm sure LinkedIn will eventually catch on. And then also LinkedIn's API absolutely sucks. It's impossible to use in a very meaningful way. So this is why I think computer use for LinkedIn is going to be a game changer for a lot of agencies and sales reps. The other thing I also want to say is that if you do have any sort of Chrome extensions, this will get in the way of Claude's ability to actually see some of the connect buttons on the UI. So I use Lemlist, and Lemlist actually makes it very difficult for Claude to figure out where the connect button actually is. So make sure you disable all your extensions before doing this. So now that I've hit the prompt, so now I've sent the prompt. It's going to say, I'll help you connect with the first 3 sales leaders from that LinkedIn search. Let me get the browser tools ready and navigate to that page. Okay, so now Claude is asking for permission to access LinkedIn. It's also opened its own tab group on my Google Chrome, so I'm going to hit allow. Now, if we scroll into Google Chrome and go into the tab group itself, it's opened up the exact same LinkedIn search that I shared with it. You can obviously tell it has this orange hue. And then it's going to say here, let's see if it actually says send without a note. So I'm not touching anything outside of just clicking into this tab group. Perfect. Now it just connected with the first prospect. It's a dialog appeared asking how to note. Since it said no connection message, I'll click send without a note. Let's see if it does the second one. Cool. Now it's adding Ahmed. Perfect. Now it's got 2 out of the 3, and then it's going to add hopefully the last one before it comes back to me with a summary. Okay, cool. So now Claude has added 3 people from this list without sending a connection request. So if you actually look at the dialog, it says like, hey, here's the URL that you sent me. I'm going to hit the connect button. Then a dialog appeared asking if we should send a connection message or not. It said send without a note because I explicitly told it not to. And then it went person by person and until it all showed pending. And so it went all 3, and then it said all 3 are now showing pending, so I'm done. And then here are the first 3 people. Now I limited this to 3, but you can have this go across multiple pages and paginate into all 10 of these pages. So this is a very efficient way to connect with people on LinkedIn without necessarily having to work through the LinkedIn API or using any sort of scraping or automation tools. Now, the last use case I recommend using Claude Computer Use for is to do website audits or funnel audits. So I'm actually on my consulting website, accusales.com. Claude Computer Use has been really great at actually figuring out like, hey, your funnel walkthrough, like your website flow, like there's some issues here, like here's some recommendations. So here's the prompt. It says, you're a digital marketing expert. I want you to review this website and the call to action flow for the main CTA, book a sales audit, ensure the flow works correctly and provide feedback to optimize click-through rate and meeting book rate. Give me detailed recommendations with level of effort attached to each recommendation, and then ask clarifying questions if you aren't sure what to deliver. And one thing I didn't put in here is actually the website URL. Here is the website. Okay, so now I've sent the prompt. Claude is reviewing it. It's built a to-do list. And then here it's probably going to ask me for permission to be able to access my browser and actually pull up the website in its own tab group. So there, it's opened up its own tab group. It's going to ask for the website. I'm going to say allow. And then let's go into this tab group. Okay, so Claude pulled my website on its browser tab. One question it had is, since the CTA is actually going to a different website, it's going to cal.com. It's asking for permission, so I'm going to hit allow again. And it's going to click the button to the CTA. It's going to my calendar booking link. Okay, so now it actually clicked one of the time slots. And it actually used my name and my email to actually book time on my calendar. Okay, so now it has a complete picture of the call to action flow, and now it's actually going to write a detailed list of recommendations and level of effort. Okay, so Claude actually went through my website. It went through my primary call to action flow, and then it recommended critical fixes to be able to improve click-through rate as well as meeting book rate. And it actually prioritized them based on level of effort. Now, I have a couple of thoughts before we wrap up the video today. The first one is, I think computer use for Claude is super powerful, especially when you need to access systems that don't have a good API or a good CLI for agents to be able to programmatically interact with them. So things like LinkedIn and Upwork, which really struggle to have good APIs or ban scraping and automation on their platforms. I think computer use, at least for the short term, will be a big growth hack there. The second thing is, if you haven't checked it out, and I might make a future video on this, is Claude Dispatch. It allows you to essentially start Claude Cowork sessions from your phone. I think we're moving towards a world where from your phone directly, you can actually spin up a Claude instance or a Claude agent that can go onto your laptop or your browser and actually start filling out Upwork proposals, connecting with people on LinkedIn. And really what that allows you to do is, if you're on the move, right? Like let's say you're traveling for work one day, but you still need to, send 30 emails. You can go on Claude Dispatch, maybe say like, hey, go to my inbox, draft 30 emails, and then start sending them out to these people, or go to my Lem list or my outreach system and send these emails out to people. It's basically like having a personal assistant that lives on your computer that can do tasks for you without you having to go into the browser itself. So I think this is going to be a huge game changer as we really move into a more agentic kind of an agentic centralized like economy and world. All right, guys, so that's the video for today. If you found it valuable, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I'm going to be trying to post more regularly on more sales content, as well as content on how AI is impacting sales, freelancing, and being a business owner. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe to the channel and let me know if there's anything or any topics you want me to make a video on. But outside that, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See y'all.